Welcome to the Period Besties Podcast with Stasha and Katie. Think about it as chatting with your best friends about all the TMI stuff you've never talked about before with two period coaches who've been helping hormones collectively for over 20 years now. I'm Stasha.
And I'm Katie, and we're pulling back the curtain on what it's like in the world of menstrual coaching. From puberty to menopause and everything in between, we're here to show you how period coaching can save the day. We'll share practical tips and information you can put to immediate use to improve your hormones and happiness.
We're removing the mystery, ending the taboo, and shining a light on just how powerful period coaching can be.
So whether you need period coaching or are considering becoming a period coach yourself, these episodes are going to help you. We'll share stories, coach live on air, and bring smart, savvy guests to share their wisdom too. Let's start today's episode.
Welcome back to Period Besties Podcast. We're doing a Q&A session today, and one of the very first questions, in fact, it's number one on my list when I was collecting questions from our inbox and DMs and whatnot, was how to handle men joking about periods. And we were going to do a Q&A episode with a bunch of questions, but really we just started talking about this and realized, oh, this is a full episode, part one, frankly. So how do you handle men joking about periods? And I'll tell you, if you have the time, the conversation, if it's an internet thing where you can type out something, one of my favorite things to do is to explain that when a woman or whomever is having their period, their hormones are their most like men in the entire month. So I often like to go, well, when I have my period, it's when my hormones are most similar to men. So you dealing with me is like me dealing with you all the time. Mic drop, walk away.
I like that. I laughed out loud. That's really funny. Mic drop. Yeah, that makes so much sense. I'm just trying to remember back in the day, when fifth, sixth grade, and everyone could tell that you had your period because you wore your big maxi pad to school. And I'm trying to remember what the boys would say, but looking back now, like I'm educating my boys on what's going on. I want them to have a tampon or a pad in their backpack to like give to one of their girlfriends. And I'm hoping that there's less of that communication. I'm just going back to when I first had my period, thinking about that, because I feel like that's the most that I've experienced, especially from my brothers, and, just the lack of understanding about what's actually going on. So I am healing myself by educating my children and even my husband. Like if I run out of things I need, like he'll go to the store and buy things for me. Yeah. So I feel like that's always helpful, because growing up, I was always like, don't tell dad I have my period, and I'm like, Mom, I need more pads, I need more tampons, whatever that was. So just having those conversations, I haven't had any of those things now, but I just feel like in general, it's one of those things where it's more of the mood issue now that I'm thinking of, like, oh, you're PMSing. Oh, you're just in a bad mood. And just letting them know like what's actually going on in my body. And I'm bleeding. You can't see that, but I'm bleeding. That takes a lot of energy. So that's why I'm tired. That's why have a very short fuse right now, because I'm literally bleeding. And my sons look at me like, oh no, do you need a Band-Aid? Because for them, like if they're bleeding, they get a Band-Aid. I'm like, no. And I'm just trying to explain it. But I think I'm overcompensating in the explanation of how I'm feeling as a way to heal myself and also help other people understand like what the F is going on.
Maybe, but I think you're teaching empathy.
Well, yes, and empathy.
Which is applicable across the board for so many things. So if you have empathy in one area, the odds are that you can turn that empathy on in other areas as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's jealousy. I've been a fan of the like, I know that you can't bleed for 7 days without dying. So I understand that you're jealous. I get that. But we can try it. Do you want to bleed for 7 days and see if you make it or not? I understand you're jealous. You can't create life. You can't bleed for a week without dying. I understand you're very weak. You don't have the strength or the stamina or the ability. So I understand that's very jealousy inducing. And I can see why you would be so jealous of my amazing body. And yeah, I get it. It's tough.
I like that jealousy part. I feel like sometimes with men, boys, I often wonder if they are, and I know that they are jealous of the power that we have to create life. So on the other side, whenever, whenever I don't want to do something, I'm like, Jim, I had twins. Here you go. He's like, how long are you going to use that? I'm like, forever. But I do think there is some sort of jealousy, and that's why they're afraid or scared of our power, because we create life.
Oh, absolutely. We wouldn't have the structure, this patriarchal society, if it wasn't for that
Yeah.
absolute fact that it's just stems from envy, jealousy, fear, right? It's the unknown. They have no idea what it's like, what it feels like, none of it. So it's also that fear of the unknown, especially back in the day, right?
Mhm.
Pre-anatomy, that kind of things where you didn't know. You just
Yeah.
kind of went, I don't know, somehow these women are the ones that make babies, and we have no idea what we're doing about it. So, yeah, I mean, this is the reason that most cultures, pre-patriarchal religions, everything was handed down through the female line because you didn't know who the dad was necessarily because you
Yeah.
didn't understand. There was no concept of ovulation. It was a evolutionary pick, right, to make ovulation hidden so that it would increase the male's staying power. So a lot of species have obvious ovulation where it is just a free for all and may the best DNA win kind of situation, right? But we have a hidden ovulation and it evolved that way because it would make men more interested in staying because they didn't know when you were ovulating. There were subtle signs, right? Pheromones and symmetry and the waist hip ratio changes a bit when you're in ovulation, these kinds of things, but they're all very subtle. So it was evolution's way of getting men to stick around longer, to stay with a partner, to create a community where people were more together and supported each other and helped each other and that thing. So it was an evolutionary choice to protect us, keep us safe, make a stronger community because as human beings, we have to be in community to survive. It's real tough to be an isolated hermit as much as I would like to be. It's real hard to live that way. So
No, that just reminded me because earlier this spring, it was mating season for the alligators.
yeah.
And you never see the alligators outside of the ponds often. Sometimes they'll sleep on the grass, but right near the pond. And they were walking through our neighborhood, these huge alligators. And everyone was like, watch out, it's mating season. They're going to be more aggressive. Stay away. And what you just said made me remember that because it was so funny. And we were just driving down the street. There's a huge alligator just like walking down. I'm like, all right, he's looking for his mate.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, it depends on the situation, right? If you have some dude who's just being a rando, like, oh, what do you want on the rag? And you can choose to sass back and be like, what are you jealous? Like, you can have those conversations. You can also take it as a moment to teach some empathy, to teach some education, right? Oh, well, hey, maybe, but this is when my hormones are most in line with yours. So if this is how you feel about dealing with me right now, this is how I feel about dealing with you 24/7, all of the time, all of the days. So you can have those different conversations in different ways, depending on if it's somebody that you think is worth redemption and teaching and bringing up, or if it's just someone you need to move on, get past. It's tough in those moments to have a sassy comeback, but a lot of the times the easiest one is just, are you jealous, bro?
Yeah. I just tend to overshare everything and I explain what's going on and all of the things, and they either stay or they just walk away.
Oh, I've definitely done that. Oh, well, actually, I am not bleeding right now because I have endometriosis. So if I was having my period, I would actually be balled up on the floor, puking out my brains, and you would know very clearly because I would be sobbing on the floor in crippling pain. So the fact that I'm standing here in front of you means that I am, in fact, not on the rag, as you so eloquently stated.
I know. And then their eyes just get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. I do like to traumatize men sometimes with my endo stories. I fully admit that when it was bad, especially like now that I have done so much healing and work and whatnot, and they're not as bad, fine. But back in the day, like when I was bartending in New York City and it was really bad and someone wanted to give me shit, I'd be like, okay, traumatize them back. And would just absolutely go into graphic detail as to what was happening with endometriosis, like what it felt like, what it was, the evacuating everything from every orifice all at once simultaneously. And I would really very graphically explain things to men. And
What was their response most of the time?
most of the time they were completely silent. I don't know if they were ashamed into silence, stunned into silence, or just like had absolutely no idea how to react to that or anything. So most of the time, nothing. There was no reaction. It was just like shock and awe. It's just, oh God, okay, well,
Here's an extra tip.
yeah. Here's
Did you get more tips or less tips? Sympathy tips?
good question. Sympathy tips? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Usually they just walked away, generally, right?
You should have had
Some
an
of them were
extra tip jar that said sympathy tips.
like, yeah, it was just crazy. I mean, some of them would be like, oh God, I had no idea. Some of them would be like, and you're standing here? And I'd be like, yeah, because I have to make money or I don't pay my rent. Like, I don't have a choice. When I'm not here, I'm in the bathroom throwing up. Somebody gave me Vicodin once, which was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an extra.
I got some drugs from time to time. People would be like, here. Some of the people that I bartended with also would trade shifts for pain meds with me. Like one of the guys had broken his back, and so he had a permanent prescription for Vicodin for the rest of his life. But he would trade me shifts sometimes, and I would, if I opened and he was supposed to close, I'd stay and close for him, and he'd give me a couple of Vicodin, and then I could take those when I had my period and I had to work at the same time. So that was nice.
What we've done
I know.
versus when we used to get our periods and hang out at the spa, the red tent, and now we are taking Vicodin to get through a shift because we have to pay our rent.
Yeah.
Ooh, how far we've fallen. Seriously.
It is. It's tough. And every time I think like, oh man, maybe I should go like volunteer or do work somewhere. And they're like, okay, well, we need to have a set schedule. I'm like, oh, never mind. I don't want to go back onto that pain pill regimen because just having to exist with my period at the same time will automatically put me back onto the painkiller cycle. So, okay, well, maybe when I'm in menopause.
Yes. Did you ever tell some of the men that what you're experiencing was worse than having a heart attack, the pain factor?
No, I didn't know that at the time. No.
You
So,
can use that now.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, but at the time back in the day, especially when I was a sassy bartender, I definitely didn't know that stuff. Also, I didn't actually know it was endometriosis in my 20s. I had
Yeah.
a doctor in my teens tell me it can't be endometriosis because that takes years and years of buildup for it to cause pain. So there's no possible way it could be endometriosis as a teen, which of course now we know is not true. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I just thought I had really bad periods and that there was no explanation for it. So yeah. So I didn't really have anything to say, but yeah, I definitely had some sassy comebacks for the men back in the day, especially especially when I was in pain and didn't have anything nice to say to anyone anyway.
Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah. Now it's a lot more like you. Now I am definitely much more into okay, well, let's take this as an educational moment and teach some basic cycle hormonal changes. Here's the thing. When my hormones are like this is when they're most like a male's hormones and empathy, teach a little empathy along the lines. But at the end of the day, it depends on the situation,
100%.
Yeah. So I want to hear our listeners, what have you said? Have you had those experiences? Have you had any sassy men speaking up at you? There's a woman on TikTok who's like, how to deflate a man's ego at a party. And it's like, oh, yeah, I'm pretty impressed you were able to do that as a man. Or did you buy that shirt yourself or did your mom get it for you? Like just little cutting jabs. And I'm like, I wonder if any of these are period applicable. Could I use these in these?
Oh, 100%.
So I definitely want to hear from our listeners. Have you had these experiences? Do you have sassy comebacks that you like? Because I will happily read them on a podcast episode for everyone to share.
Let's do that. I want to hear what everyone else has to say because I work from home, not really out in the corporate world anymore. I'm not experiencing so much of the sassiness with the men. So I want to hear how you are experiencing it in the world. Even just last week when I was at this event, I had my period and I just took my tampon out of my purse and walked into the bathroom and somebody saw me.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm showing what's going on. I felt like that was a win. But I'm curious like what it's like and how you're responding and what people are saying to you. So yes, share. And if you have any other questions, we're going to be doing more of these Q&A sessions and chats. So send us along any questions that you have and we'll answer them.
Yeah. Emails in the show notes or slide into our Insta DMs. We're happy to chat. And you can never go wrong with the, oh, honey, short kings can win too. All right. Thanks to everyone for listening. We'll be back with more Q&A episodes and please send in yours questions. Please send in your sassy responses. We want to hear it all and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.
A big shout out and thank you to our sponsors for today's episode, Period Coaching School and Katie Bresek Wellness.
Thanks to you, our favorite bestie, for listening to the Period Besties Podcast, where no topic is TMI. And of course, share this episode with your besties.
Remember to leave us a 5-star review, nothing less than the best for us besties, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
You can follow us on Instagram at Stasha Washburn and at Katie Bresek, or email us at periodbestiespodcast@gmail.com.
Check out more about us at katiebresek.com and periodcoachingschool.com. And of course, check the show notes for free goodies and extras that support this episode.
We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye for now, besties.